Well, our foreign affairs commentator, Doug Herbert's been taking a look at this story. He joins me now on the set for more. Doug, these women are being urged to go out in the streets, take their veils off in protest at the crackdown.
Yeah, but I also, it has to be prefaced in the sense that this, today is the day of hijab and chastity. That's what the government calls it. And in Iran, since the Islamic Revolution, 1979, under Sharia law, which was imposed after the revolution, women are supposed to, all women, no exceptions, are supposed to cover their hair. And they're also supposed to avoid wearing loose-fitting clothes that might expose their figures.
Tight-fitting clothes.
So tight-fitting clothes. So, no, they're supposed to wear loose-fitting clothes. So it's indistinguishable, man or woman. But the reality is that in a lot of places in Iran, that law, the authorities over the years have struggled to enforce it. A lot of younger women especially, they wear very bright headscarves. Their hair often comes out, little meshes of hair come out, and they wear bright clothing. And basically, there's a lot of flouting of the law. What under the new arch-conservative president, who's very close to the ultra-conservative clerical establishment, Ebrahim Raisi, he basically has signed an order a few days back saying, let's enforce this law. An order basically saying, let us enforce on hijab and Chastity Day, as it's called, this women wearing the hijab. So women, like you said, are now taking, activists have taken to the internet saying, we ain't hearing any of this. We're not doing it. We are going to go out on the streets and we are going to expose our hair, and we are not going to wear this hijab. They're risking not just rebuke, but arrests, fine, imprisonment. Sometimes you go farther. The behavior, what amounts to behavior police go around, guidance patrols, as they're called, and they often, beat women up when the cameras aren't on them, and can be extremely brutal. So it's a horrible situation right now, striking at women's dress clothes. But I'll just add that there's also been, this is part of a broader crackdown, right? Iran under a lot of pressure, right? Economic hardship. They're under pressure for its nuclear program. So the crackdown against dissent of any kind under these very stressful conditions in Iranian societies everywhere. Filmmakers,
right. We just saw that.
We saw it, right? Three very prominent Iranian filmmakers, one of whom actually won giant awards in Berlin for his film Taxi back in 2015. They have been arrested. And why were they arrested? Well, more than 300 filmmakers signed a petition a couple of days back, basically calling on security forces to lay down their arms. And why were they saying that? Because they were protesting the violent crackdown against protests following the collapse of a building in southwest Iran in a town called Abadan back in late May. Over 40 people were killed in that building collapse. And these activists, the cultural activists, the filmmakers, were basically denouncing, and the protesters, what they see as corruption, theft, ineptitude, inefficiency in government, no accountability. This is why they are being arrested, basically, for supporting the protesters and for calling for some sort of accountability from the government. So whether it's the Iranian women right now being targeted for what they wear or don't wear, or these filmmakers being targeted for supporting protesters, again, who are protesting corruption and inefficiency, it's all part of this paranoia on the sense of the regime and a real rigid crackdown.
Doug, in other news related to Iran, there have been reports that Iran is about to sell weapons to Russia.
Yeah, wherever you look right now, it seems like every front, there's tumult right now in Iran. The U.S. government says it believes, doesn't have the firm proof, believes Iran is preparing to sell drones to Russia. Now, we know that Ukraine has used a lot of drones in this war, Turkish drones. The Russians can use them as well, and their weapons are also dwindling as they push their offensive in the east. They say they're trying to buy these drones, perhaps to use them for combat operations. They believe that Iranians will be training the Russians to do this. This comes on top of news, as if that isn't enough, that Vladimir Putin, the Kremlin's announced, is going to be going to Tehran on July 19th to meet with Ebrahim Raisi, Iran's president, as well as Turkey's Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Now, that doesn't have anything to do with the drones. It's on another issue. But it seems there's a lot moving right now when it comes to Russia and Iran right now, trying to forge these closer ties at a time when a lot of the West is allied against Russia. And need I remind our viewers, Joe Biden arriving also in the region next week, Israel, Saudi Arabia, neither of which have joined the Western-led sanctions against Russia. There's a lot of spaces to watch here in the coming days.
Absolutely, Doug. Thanks for doing it for us. It's France 24's Doug Herbert.